Very nice. So I wanted to talk about something since I have you here. Huh? I am. We are lately talking about missing person case, and I believe the police department is the first uh, step to report a missing person. Then in the missing person there is different kind of missing. Okay, we have missing elderly person who's suffering from Alzheimer or any mental disease, which is very alarming because those people get lost and disappear, and sometimes they put themselves in danger. Okay, so I want to understand the process when that happens. We, as a private investigator, we usually get the call after the police, okay? And they're calling us because they say the police doesn't do anything. Because again, there is a lot of factors that can be involved. So can you tell me about the process to report somebody who's missing? What's your priority in the department? If it's an older person, if it's a teenager runaway, if it's a woman, a man, an adult, children. So, well, how you guys handle those kind of call and situation?
Okay, so as far as the missing person, it goes into two major categories. Obviously, we deal with the adults, and we also deal with the juveniles and the kids. So as far as the adults, there is the rule with 24 hours. So if someone goes missing, typically, unless they have some kind of mental issue, Alzheimer's, dementia, something like that, you'll have to wait 24 hours before the police will take your report.
And if they have a mental issue? Why I want to uncover the truth. Hello, everybody. So today we have an exceptional guest, my dear friend Dukens Sanon. He's a police officer. He's a captain from North Miami Beach Department. And today we're going to talk about a lot of things. The reason that we have this podcast is to have a better understanding what private investigator can do and what police officer can do as well, okay? Because there is so many situations that it can be a civil case or criminal case. And it happened that it's a big confusion of many people. They don't understand why the police cannot help them. And so we're going to go over many things. So Duken, I'd like to have you to introduce yourself to our community and how long you've been in the police, where you coming from, what you were doing before you were a police officer, and why you choose this wonderful profession, wonderful job to help the community today.
Okay. Good evening, Victor. Thank you for inviting me here.
My pleasure.
I'm really happy to be here. So pretty much everything for me started at a very young age. I'm from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Came here in 1994 at the age of 11. I attended college at Florida International University. And upon completing high school, I decided to join the National Guard. So I joined the military. I served for about 9 years. I did a deployment in Afghanistan in 2005. And during my deployment is when I decided I wanted to join the police force when I got back from deployment. So came back. North Miami Beach is actually my home department. I lived in North Miami Beach, so it was pretty convenient and pretty exciting to be able to apply to and work for this department. I've been working for Miami Beach for about 19 years now.
19 years. Wow.
19 years.
You look so young.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah, so I got on about a year after getting in the department. I was able to get onto the SWAT team. So I've been on the SWAT team for about 18 years. I am now the commander. Also, I'm a captain now. So I have, quite a few little years of experience in, different aspects of the job. And I'm hoping that today, I can help shine some light and enlighten.
Of course. So it's interesting. You say you're in the SWAT team unit. So
Yes.
actually you attach this department. You take care of, you're the commander of the SWAT team
Yes.
for North Miami Beach and I believe also Aventura, which
correct.
is the
Well,
same umbrella, I believe.
Right. We train together. We're one team. So Aventura and North Miami Beach have one team together. So multi-team.
That's interesting.
So we do everything together. All our operations, all of our trainings, we do it together.
Okay, very nice. So the reason that I'm a private investigator, we have client coming to our offices, and a lot of times I have the pleasure to work with you, okay, and your department. It's very common. I bring you some cases sometimes, but I have clientele coming to me and say, listen, I went to the police department, not specifically North Miami Beach. I mean, there come people from everywhere, Miami, Doral, Kendall, Hollywood, Hallandale. And they say, I was a scam. I was I was a victim of a scam and I went to the police. And the police told me that it's a civil matter. Okay? They cannot do anything. I will say this is very common, okay? And people are confused because they really got robs, okay? So how you can help them to make themselves understand better to a police station? Because I believe there is some confusion sometimes there. I understand that people are busy and they have other priority, emergency, and I understand that. That's fine. But there is a lot of confusion. So what's a civil matter and what is a criminal matter?
So, I mean, it all depends on the case that we're talking about. And a lot of times what happens is on the onset, when someone brings a case to a police department, a lot of times based on how they explain what happened to them, it can be a civil matter, because obviously the laws allow certain guidelines for us to determine what is criminal and what is not. What can happen when with these cases that are sometimes are civil matter in general in the beginning can be criminal, but when you have the limited information you have at first hand, you may not be able to see it.
Okay.
Or the police officer or the police department may not be able to see it. So in turn, that's where a private investigator agency or a PI can come into play, where they can provide more specific
Evidence,
attention
yes,
and evidence to that case, where they may be able to uncover the criminal aspect of it that the police department may not know in the beginning, or the victim themselves may not know. So that investigator or that firm can find that information, and then once they have, obviously the more evidence you have, the better of a case you have or the stronger case you have. So once they have that information, then they can actually bring it back to the police department and say, hey, look, we know that when we first came forward, there's a lot of things we didn't know or a lot of information we didn't have. However, we were hired and we did this and this is what we found, and now you bring it to the police department. A lot of times, if you have the right evidence, it can then be investigated as criminal. So that's one way you can go about trying to fix that. But yes, a lot of times, some cases when you bring it forward at first, it will seem, it may be criminal, but it will seem civil, and there's not much that the policeman will be able to do about it at that point.
Yeah. So that's right, and you're absolutely right, because I experienced this this situation a lot of times. And then what we do, we take the case, we investigate a little bit deeper, and we find out that this person was scamming other people the same way that they did to my client. So what we did, we take statement from other victims, and then we are noticing that it's exactly the same pattern. So which means the crime was done with premeditation. So it's already planned. So this is already something that we can expose a little bit deeper. Is that this the work of private investigator when they got those cases? And and that's what I wanted to explain to people, because they come with a lot of confusion. They say, oh, the police this, the police that. No, the police is busy. The police has other things to do. And if you don't bring enough evidence, they won't take your case as a criminal case. Okay?
Correct.
So that's one thing. But it's interesting the way things can turn very fast, actually.
And one thing we can educate the public on is whenever a case goes in front of a police department, no matter what police department it is, based on how much information you have or whatever evidence you have, it goes into a certain criteria. Obviously, the more evidence you have, the more of a possibility of being able to solve the case. So it'll go obviously higher on the list. And if you don't have as much information or you have no information at all, obviously it may not get there because there's other cases that have more evidence, and
of course,
then they become a priority. So yeah, obviously the more information you have, the better. No matter what case it is that you bring forward to the police.
Okay,
department.
very nice. So I wanted to talk about something since I have you here. I am. We are lately talking about missing person case, and I believe the police department is the first step to report a missing person. Then in the missing person, there is different kind of missing. Okay, we have missing elderly person who's suffering from Alzheimer or any mental disease, which is very alarming because those people get lost and disappear, and sometimes they put themselves in danger. Okay, so I want to understand the process when that happens. We, as a private investigator, we usually get the call after the police, okay? And they're calling us because they say the police doesn't do anything. Because, again, there is a lot of factors that can be involved. So can you tell me about the process to report somebody who's missing? What's your priority in the department? If it's an older person, if it's a teenager, runaway, if it's a woman, a man, an adult, children. So, how you guys handle those kind of call and situation?
Okay, so as far as the missing person, it goes into two major categories. Obviously, we deal with the adults, and we also deal with the juveniles and the kids. So as far as the adults, there is the rule with 24 hours. So if someone goes missing, typically, unless they have some kind of mental issue, Alzheimer's, dementia, something like that, you'll have to wait 24 hours before the police will take your report.
And if they have a mental issue, if it's a teenager,
if they have mental issues or if it's a child, then you will be able to file that report immediately.
Immediately, okay.
Yes,
that's
you'll be able to file immediately, and it goes again with more information you have, the better. So if you do have a case of a missing person, and it's something unusual, and you truly feel that this person is missing, the more information you have, the better. So typical questions that you'll be asked is obviously, when was the last time you saw this person, what they were wearing? You'll also be asked questions as far as where do they frequent, where do they normally go? Because what happens is whenever the police gets these calls, whoever we have available, especially if it's an adult with mental issues or a child, we immediately start looking, and we start looking at all those areas. We check the homes as well because a lot of times you'd be amazed, but sometimes the parents will try to do a missing person report for their kid or their child, and the kids are in the house hiding somewhere under
That
the bed.
happened, really?
And yes, it
Oh my God.
happens. It happens more often than you think, and they don't even realize it. So we usually start with the house first, make sure the kid is not in the house. And if it's an adult with mental issues, a lot of times they wander off, they walk down the block, and they just get lost. We typically have everyone who is on shift come in and try to get as much information as we can as far as if there's a local store that they usually go to or a park, anything like that. We start checking friends. We start checking all those areas. We try to see if they had a cell phone with them. If they have an iPhone, one of these phones that can be tracked, we try to.
Do you guys
track
track the phone? Yes, usually fast.
Well, typically what we do is like I'll give an example of an iPhone. We'll have the parents or the guardians log into the
Find my phone. Yes,
and then by doing that, then the officer will obviously go into the area and try to locate the child or the adult.
So if the phone is off,
I know there's been upgrades recently that unless you turn the feature off, at least with the iPhone, even if the phone is off, you can still be able to track it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thing.
And that changed years ago because of issues that we've had with a lot of iPhones being stolen. So Apple kind of changed the setting now where because what would happen is a lot of times criminals would steal the phones, and obviously as soon as you turn it off, you can no longer track the phone, so then you can't get your phone back.
Yeah, of course.
So now even if you turn the phone off,
you can still
track
be able to track location.
Correct.
That's a good thing. Okay, very nice. Now, how can you identify between a regular missing person to a human trafficking? So it's a tricky question because, there is some red flag, all right? Human trafficking, as you know, doesn't have to be a sex slave. It could be also labor slave.
Correct.
It could be anything. I mean, people disappear every day.
Yes.
Okay. I know that we're all talking about that lately. There is a lot of issue with the sex trafficking, and it's growing like since 2019 to 2022, we went up to 25%. And I don't have the new number, but it's huge. And it's human trafficking. It's about 30% happen here in US. Okay, the victim, American victim, and the rest, 60 or 58%, it's Central and South America. But I'm sure in your department or you had to deal with this kind of crime. So can you tell us a little bit, like story or like, for example, did you? I heard there is a sheriff in Polk County in Florida, very active sheriff, just got, I think he arrested over 160 sex predator.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a big operation, and they arrest all those people, and they find multiple kind of people, from the realtor to teacher, school teacher, and it's crazy.
Well, unfortunately, like you mentioned before, it's been years now that we've been having an issue with sex trafficking and
human trafficking.
It is a very serious issue, and like you said before, it's complicated. It's not one of those things that you can just see with a naked eye. You kind of, what I would say is it kind of goes in line with that saying, see something, say something, meaning that you're not going to see someone and automatically know, okay, you know what, they might be a victim of human trafficking. There are red flags. If you see someone that you think they look like they're being
mistreated,
mistreated, or someone's
abused,
being overly possessive with them, if they have any physical abuse, and like you said, human trafficking is not only dealing with sex; it's also labor. There are people who are trafficked for labor as well. So there are red flags there, like the ones that we just mentioned. So kind of falls on all of us as a society to whenever we see these things that we think may, regardless how minimal you think it is, if you see something like that you think this person may be in trouble, it doesn't hurt to
report
place that call or report it. Now, I know a lot of the police departments are trying as best as we can and putting the extra effort to try to combat this, horrific crime. I know in our police department, we do have one detective in particular who works, so they have an actual detached organization that works on that specifically. So what happens is a lot of the departments in Broward County and Dade County will pretty much assign one or two detectives based on the manpower to join this group, and they specifically concentrate on human trafficking, and they do operations, they
undercover
do trainings. Yes, they do all of that. So there are efforts being made to try to help, combat this. And like I said, like you said, it's not easy to recognize, but if we all try to do it together, we can definitely help everyone out.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to see, there is, for example, if there is prostitution, there is sex trafficking.
Very, very good.
Very
chance.
often.
Yeah.
I mean, not 100%, because there
Of
is
course.
some people, they are sex worker, they do it because that's what they do.
But if you have that, you have a likelihood.
But if you have
that.
prostitution around the neighborhood or in the street, it's most likely you will be able to find like sex trafficking
you can
and human
uncover
trafficking.
that somewhere. Yes.
So, question: Are you? I know here I'm in Hollywood, and we are on Federal Highway, and I see prostitution every day. Okay, on the street, there are young girl, older women walking around, trying to,
Solicit.
soliciting prostitution from men, and there is men. Look, my office is in the corner of Federal Highway and a street, little street, and I see some men stopping with the car and talking to the girl. It happened. I see it through my window. So, do you guys in your department, in your city, do you have some kind of prostitution like that in the street? It's very rare. I mean, it's not like there is some specific place in Europe, they have street full of that and it's tolerated. But here in US, it's not.
So depending on where you are, I know there are certain states that obviously they have this happen, more than others. I would tell you in our specific jurisdiction, we don't really deal too much with prostitution, but some of the surrounding agencies that surround us do. And again, this is another one of those problems where they do have task force that deal specifically with that.
Specifically with prostitution.
They do sting operations and stuff like that. Yeah. So all departments specifically don't deal with that issue as much, but other departments do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another question. So did you experience any rescue of human trafficking in your career in all those years of service? I
have not.
You have not. Okay.
I know we've been in close contact with the detective who was assigned to that specifically. We have assisted her with operations where the SWAT team has helped with taking into custody the individuals who were responsible for that. But me in particular, specifically being involved with it, I haven't been involved with it.
Okay. Great. So that's interesting. So when you work, you going, every time I see you, you say, oh, I want to do a delivery a warrant. So can you tell me about it? What kind of warrant? What you guys do when you go and delivery or drop a warrant for arrest or for, it's probably for that most of the time, to arrest somebody. So you go with a SWAT team unit, or it depends on the emergency?
So normally what happens is, unless it's something that happened while the officers are going to a call, Normally, it will be a warrant that gets signed by a judge. So we have different units that work obviously within the department. We have the Detective Bureau, and we also have our TIU unit, is our tactical unit. So they deal a lot with narcotics. So a lot of times they'll get complaints because of, we'll have individuals who are serving narcotics from their residence or from businesses even within the neighborhood. So what'll happen a lot of times is residents will complain about it. That complaint will get forwarded over to the police department and to our city hall. This unit will, they'll do some surveillance, they'll do their due diligence to try to locate where the problem is. Once they're able to do that, they'll use whatever informants that they need to use to show the proof that this is occurring at whatever location it is. Then a warrant is written. Once the warrant is written, it gets forwarded to the judge. The judge takes a look at it, makes sure all the parameters are there. And once the judge signs off on it, then the SWAT team will get contacted to go ahead and assist with making the arrest of the individual or individuals. That's pretty much how it works with anything. Whatever unit needs our assistance or the SWAT team's assistance, they just, they get their warrant signed first, get everything in line, and then they'll make the formal request.
That's interesting. And in your unit, what's the most common crime are you calling on, like most of the time? What is it? Shooting, burglary? I mean, there is something that you guys do more than other?
This unit specifically, I would say, is the narcotics.
Narcotics,
yeah.
Wow. And what kind of narcotic you're dealing with, like fentanyl? Do you deal with a lot of fentanyl?
Fentanyl,
cocaine, ecstasy, pills, marijuana. Yeah. You told me about what you guys were doing about complaint, going to undercover and for smoke shop, and they were. What happened there? I mean, this very unusual. Things.
That's that's an unusual circumstance. Obviously, a lot of things with the smoke shops is fairly new. There are still a lot of laws governing that are not really clear yet.
Yes.
So, but obviously, smoke shops are not supposed to be selling, certain items or certain things.
Yeah.
And especially not to children.
Well, I'm very familiar with that because I used to, I do like a counterfeit trademark for vapes brands. So we used to go and visit, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 stores, smoke shop a day to look for counterfeit. But we were looking for the vapes. But when you go inside a smoke shop, they are selling amps, they're selling a THC cartridge. I mean, it's marijuana, but it's synthetic. And the amps, it's same thing as the marijuana. It's just, I think it's just harvested like 3 weeks before the marijuana. So it's a little less strong, but the difference is very insignificant.
It's very minute, yep.
And they're selling mushrooms, like psychedelic products. They're selling gummies, THC gummies. They're selling a lot of stuff that's very strong. This is hard drug. But you guys were investigating for different problems, I guess.
Yeah.
They were, if I remember, I think they were selling marijuana.
Right. Regular marijuana.
The regular marijuana, and so you go, guys, and you investigating, and then you close the store, and you arrest the owner and the people, and this and that. So
whoever's responsible.
That's interesting, huh? And you did that a lot. I mean, how many stores you got?
Recently, we've been doing it quite often. But again, you and I have spoken. There seems to be a million smoke shops everywhere.
No, I know every corner of the street there is smoke shop. So there is so much drugs and addiction, temptation for everybody. It's and it's the kids. The kids are going there. I mean, I don't know why, but all the children love to vape. You go to high school, they all have a vape outside of the high school. I mean, this disaster. But anyway, Florida has to change some laws.
And that's the big issue. The kids who are being exposed to this.
That was the reason that you guys went there and investigate the things. But what kind of narcotics that you guys seize the most?
I would say it used to be cocaine, but we don't do that as much anymore. Now it's really the marijuana is what we're seizing on now.
Marijuana,
Yeah.
huh? Okay. Well, fentanyl. Do you guys have a
Sounds-
lot of fentanyls here? I know Hollywood is
Yes.
infected of fentanyls. I mean, I was talking to a police officer from Hollywood. They say they have a big problem in
Yes.
Hollywood
No,
with that too.
we do deal with that a lot,
It's
unfortunately.
pretty dangerous, huh? Substance, huh? Unfortunately, it's very addicted.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think those narcotic products are being managed by? Gangs, organized crime, or just young kids that they want to be in business? They think they're going to make a lot of money. What was the... Because there is organized crime, there is professional crime.
I mean, I guess you can venture to say it's more with the organized crime where, you have, and it changes hands everywhere. You have the individuals who, make them and they supply other, people, like you said, who want to make a name for themselves or who want to be cool, and they use them to go sell, making them think, okay, you're going to make a lot of money doing this, and all they're doing is, all infecting each other. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a gang thing. I think more,
Criminal organization, yeah. But anyway, a gang is a criminal organization because it's not one person. It's a combine of many criminals around this organization. So
and the gang, the gang thing is kind of changed over the years where, back in the past, you used to have a lot of issues with the gangs, with the shootings, and now a lot of the crimes that the gangs, commit are fraud. Like that is
that changed.
That is the
What
thing.
kind of fraud? Like
A lot. I mean, anything from these individuals will have family members or friends who work at banks. That's pretty common where the bank tellers or workers will have access to customers' personal information, social security, that type of thing. They'll obviously provide that to these guys, and they'll use that to steal people's identity. They do the scanners at the gas stations. When you go.
oh yeah, that's something interesting. Look, they're creating fake devices to put on top of a keypad of the gas station or credit card,
Like the credit card
keyboard,
readers. Yeah.
POS,
Yep.
and what you're doing actually, you giving away your credit card information. You put the card, you put your PIN, and that's what they're collecting. Now they have your credit card number or your debit card number and the PIN number, so they can reproduce something and get the money out of your
They
account.
have everything there.
Yeah.
And unless you're really paying attention,
You don't see it right away, huh?
most of us, most individuals, you work your 9 to 5 job, you're on the way home, you
They're
stop
on
at a
their
gas
phone.
station, get gas, you're not really paying
Yeah,
attention. So
it's true.
you're not looking to see, or let me see if this card reader is fake, or if you're not doing that.
Well,
So,
every time I go to a gas station and I'm paying with my card at the POS, the little keyboard, or if I am at the gas station at the pump, you do your transaction, I'm always trying to remove the keyboard with my finger. If it goes, because you can see it, you can feel it with your finger. I never find one, okay? Maybe one day, because I have this habit to do it, because I see there is so many fraud. But, the one I try, they're real. So you can see, but I'm sure if you go and start to lift a little bit the keyboard of the device, you will see it's coming up. And if
It'll
it's
come
coming
up
up,
and you know,
that's mean it's a fake, it's a clone device.
but the problem is most people are not
doing that.
doing what you're doing. They're not checking because they're not.
Yeah, I'm a little bit
They're not
paranoid.
thinking about that,
Because it's all the crime I see every day.
Well, yeah. I mean,
That make me on the edge
yeah,
sometimes.
and I'm sure here you see a lot of things that other people don't see.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, those same scanners, they also use them at drive-throughs as well. A lot of these fast food restaurants.
Oh yes.
You give them your card, and that's why if you do go to a drive-through, You want to go somewhere where you can see what's happening with your card, even though that's not necessarily going to keep them from being able to do it. But a lot of times when you hand your card over, they'll have the scanner near where the original card reader is, and
Yeah.
it happens very quickly.
Well,
And you won't even see it happening where they'll scan it and they have your information and you don't even
exactly.
know.
But you know what? You're not, everywhere. If they want to scam you, they're going to scam you. Let me tell you why. Because I have a short story about it. It's a restaurant owner. He had a lot of complaint that his client credit card were like used outside of the restaurant. And he was a server who was taking photo of the card and using it online and this and that. So, as soon as you let your credit card leaving your eyesight, it's a danger.
Yeah.
That's why now a lot of restaurants, they bring you the small device at the table. You put your card and you do your code or you do your signature and this. And I think this is the best way to be safe today. I mean, it's like you don't want to be paranoid. They're scared of everything, but you have to be aware that,
I agree.
unfortunately,
You'll see a lot of restaurants now. They have the pad. When it's time for you to pay, the waitress or waiter will come up to you with the pad.
with the pad.
You'll a lot of times it's tap to pay and you do it right there in front of you, as
yeah.
opposed to before you give your card
You
and the
give your
receipt
card,
and they'll go to the
disappear,
back.
you come back.
Exactly.
This is something
And at that point, you don't know what's happening with your card.
from
see
the time that you gave your card and come back, you don't know what happened in the middle. Okay, and that, I mean, you have to be careful. You have to understand that scam is everywhere. Okay, I have a client came to my office. He left his wallet in the car. They stole his wallet. He said he had a credit card, this and that, like ID, etc. But they were able to use the card and go to the ATM machine and withdraw money. So I say, how they can do that unless they have your PIN number, okay? So I don't know if he had more information in the wallet. Doesn't tell me everything. But now he's coming back to me. He's telling me they also opening loans under his name. So obviously they got his PIN number. They got his social security address because they have the driver license. So they have everything.
Yeah. Unfortunately, over the past, I would say, few years, there's been a multitude of ways that criminals have been able to get access to, people's information. I would tell you, about a month and a half ago, I had a card, my debit card, that I had to close because fraudulent transactions were being done with the card. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, I have my card. I didn't lose my card. How did I get scammed? Well, they have ways to do it where they don't need your card.
Yeah.
So the fraudulent transactions started coming up on my account. And a lot of times what these guys do is they'll do gift cards because it's harder to track
A gift card
them
transaction.
with gift card transactions. And one place that I don't know why it is, but Walmart, they do that a lot with. They'll go to Walmart, they'll get the gift cards, and then start buying the gift cards for your account and start flagging everything. And when this happened to me about a month and a half ago, I had my physical card. I didn't lose my card. But they were able to somehow copy the card, went online,
You know how
started
it
buying the gift
happens?
cards.
If you go to a gas station, it happened to me too. After I went to a gas station, and I remember this gas station, since then I never stopped by. I put my card, maybe 2 hours after, less than 2 hours after, I had fraudulent activity on my card. I had text messages from my bank. Bank of America is pretty good with that. They send you text message, and I say, no, I never did this transaction. So they closed my card right away. It was not a big deal. But after I went to this gas station, things happened. And it happened twice to me with the same gas station.
Oh wow.
So the second time, I say, that's a red flag. It was coming from there. It was a long time ago. I completely zapped it because I was busy with other things. And but today, and that's how they got my card information. So when they got everything, they had a SIM card inside the keypad, and it's transferring information. So credit card number, PIN number, and they start to go with that.
They move fast.
And they move super fast.
Because I know back when I used to work the road and I would go a lot of times to these gas stations, I would take a report card because someone said, hey, I lost my card or I lost my wallet. You can see while you're there speaking with the victim, they'll get calls or they'll get messages from the banks
right away
telling them your card is being used here, your card, because they know eventually the card's
they
going to
move
get closed.
super fast.
They move super fast.
Yeah, they can take whatever. They go like ATM machine. They go to, you know what they do too? And I saw that on my client banks. They go to Publix. They buy $1.50 candy, and they take cash back.
Oh.
$100 because the maximum is $100.
Right.
And they take cash back. And I saw they did 7 transactions in one day of that. Plus ATM, plus that. Yeah. The guy lost $15,000.
And that is a quick way to do it with a cashback.
Cashback.
Yeah. And one other thing too, and I get them all the time. I'm sure you probably do as well. Now you notice a lot of random text messages.
Oh yes.
You get these text messages from USPS saying, "Oh, your package has been delivered," or your package.
Yes.
We have to realize: do not click on these links. Once you click on the link, they have your information.
They have your information.
Unless you're expecting something from UPS or from wherever it is,
when I receive an email or a text, I never click from my phone. I see it's FedEx. I go to my office or I go to my computer and I go directly to FedEx website and I open it and see what's going on. And I would say most of the time I have nothing. It's a trap.
Right.
So never spontaneously click on any messages that you receive if you're not sure that it's not a scam. Right. Go on the computer and go directly to, like, you can get a message from, Bank of America send you a text message. It's not, they never ask you to click. They ask you to say yes or no, okay, when there's things like that. But when there is sometimes they say, oh, we need you to update your personal information. We need you to update your password. Don't do it from the phone or from the device instantaneously. Go to your computer, go on make sure you're going to Bank of America website, check your bank account. If there is anything, they will send you a message right away.
They will.
So,
and FedEx is where it comes from a lot. But I would tell you also, they tried to get me one day with a phone call. So I received a phone call, and when the call came in, it said Chase Bank.
Yeah, of course. There's a spoof. The spoof.
It didn't say spam call. It actually said Chase Bank.
Yeah.
And when I picked up, I said, "Let me pick this up." And it sounded like someone from a call center, like overseas. And
with an accent, an Hindu accent, something. Yeah, that's a red flag.
I went along with it a little bit, Then they were telling me, well, there was some transactions done on your account. We need your social security number. Like they would start asking me for personal information. So I said, well, if you're Chase Bank, you should have that information. Why are you asking me? Oh, because we need to vet. So, but unfortunately, someone who doesn't know,
they get scammed. Yeah.
They see it says Chase Bank and they're thinking it's Chase Bank.
And you know what? They do that to elderly people, like the older people. They don't know. They get scared. They're not very familiar with technology, and they got scammed. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, it's what kind of, has your domestic violence and crisis management, domestic violence, shooting, did you see for the last 10 years an increasement on that, something growing, having more violence or less?
Honestly, for us, we've actually seen a decrease. Believe it or not. Yeah, good. We've actually had a decrease with domestic violence calls and shootings as well.
Shooting.
Yeah, we've actually had a decrease,
Active
which is great.
Yeah.
we've been fortunate, at least down here in South Florida and the Broward area, we haven't had, knock on wood, a lot of active shooters, situation, which is great. So that's not too high down here either.
It's not alarming, huh?
Not as far as I'm concerned. Not that.
What about domestic violence? Like, I always wanted to ask you this kind of question, and it happens a lot of my clients. They come over, they are getting divorced, and the wife, they make mistakes because they don't know, and they want to see the wife, and the wife pretend that he hit her, and she's calling the police on him, and the cops came, and they arrest him, and they put him in prison for a few days before he goes to a judge. And it happens a lot. It happens a lot that a lot of guys are victim of kind of fake simulation. Okay? You guys can see that? Or when you go on intervention, you see... I had client, like not too long ago, we had a client came here and they were like an Orthodox religious Jew, very Orthodox. And he had this problem with his wife and she was very violent. Actually, she was the one beating him up and she called the police on him and he got arrested. He went in prison and he had the domestic violence. It's bad. Well, I'm not saying, I'm not 100% sure he's violent, but I think and I heard a lot of male coming to me. They are in divorce. They have child custody investigation. And they say, oh, my wife did that. She called the police on me. The cops, they didn't even ask questions. They put me the handcuff and they arrest me. They took me to jail.
Well,
that happens a lot.
I can tell you this. Domestic violence is a very, very delicate situation that all law enforcement, deal with. At the end of the day, you can only go by the best protocols that you can put forward and just hope to make the best decision that you can based on what you have when you go to the call. Obviously, typically, whenever you go to these calls, you want to separate the two parties. You want to try to get their side of the story. Obviously, sometimes people are going to lie to you, right? But you have to try the best that you can to use whatever evidence that's there in the house or in the apartment based on what they're saying to you and also based on whatever physical, injuries one may or may not have.
If there is no injuries,
I'll tell you, the injuries have a lot to do with it.
Yes.
If they are with the way the state law works, if there are injuries,
done.
You also do not have a choice. Like someone, you have to determine who you think the primary aggressor is, and then someone is getting arrested. We don't have leeway with that.
Okay.
At all.
And if there is no injury,
if there's no injuries, then you have options to where, if there's no injuries and you're able to, determine if one of the parties have somewhere they can like sleep, for the night or for the next 2 days, you're still going to write a report and document the situation because, again, those domestic violence situations are very delicate. But
yes,
if there's no injuries, then you do have options where you can have someone leave the home, for the night or for the day and separate the parties so that, in hopes that nothing further escalates. So if there's no injuries, you do have that option to do that. Again, with making sure you document the incident. But if there are injuries, then you kind of don't really have a choice as an officer. No.
But don't you think there is a lot of abuse of this situation? You guys don't feel like people call you in purpose to do that, manipulating the system, manipulating the marital divorce situation? Because obviously, when you go to court for divorce, and especially when there is children involved, there is a child custody involved. Mm-hmm. And if the husband was arrested a few weeks ago for domestic violence because...
Yes, it's not going to look good on him.
It's not going to look good on him. So it is something that, I sing a lot because we do a lot of domestic affair. We do family business, family affair. So we have this kind of situation very often. I have the husband coming and say, "Oh, she put me in jail. She called the cops on me. She lied. She hit the head on the wall." Well, and I had also the opposite. I had a woman coming to me, say, "My husband beat me up. I called the police. I put him in jail." And then she was really a victim. So, but most of the time, I heard a lot that it's the opposite. It's they're using the police system against.
And again, it's very difficult.
But it's very difficult to
determine
see.
that because when the officer, like I said, when they go to the call, they're just going to try to go by what they hear from the parties and what they can see. Obviously, the best case scenario for someone, I guess if we can say a male, if that is happening, if he's able to, in time, record it or take a photo or have some sort of evidence that he can show to the officer, look, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
She did it herself. Obviously, that's the only way that if something like that did happen,
of course,
that victim can help themselves. But it is unfortunate. But yeah, if you go to a home and the wife is saying this is what happened, this is what he did, and he doesn't have the evidence to show otherwise, then
it's going to be a problem.
Injuries, obviously it's going to be a problem.
Let me ask you the last one of the last question, and it's a question very the actuality right now. Everybody's talking about. It's about immigration. Okay. And you guys have a position as a police officer today. And if I understand, there is new laws in Florida with the governor, DeSantis, that now is, he agreed for you guys to do a little bit the work of an immigration officer as well. Okay, when you arrest somebody, how this thing works? What's going on with the police department? How you guys? It's really happening or it's not happening.
So I can speak for the North Miami Beach Police Department.
Yeah, for your department, yes.
I can't necessarily speak for every department,
of course,
in South Florida. But I would tell you, as far as immigration, the immigration thing has always been a thing, right? Meaning, I'll give you an example, right? If I take a traffic stop, okay, and I run the person's background, I have a dispatcher run the person's background. If they have like a pickup order for immigration or something like that, it's going to come up. And depending on what is...
You can see that on your...
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Even before...
That's always been the case.
Oh, that's powerful.
And also, whenever you want someone's background, it'll tell you whether or not under the information for the license, they'll tell you whether or not they're a U.S. citizen. So the point of me saying this is those information have always been there. Now, obviously, there's a more emphasis put on by the governor to
enforce the law,
assist ICE. However, it doesn't really affect the everyday duties of our police officers. Meaning, our police officers are not going out and looking for individuals to arrest and
illegal
to get
immigrants.
deported.
Yes. Okay.
If we go to a call for service, we run the person's information, and let's say they do have a pickup order for ICE. Obviously, we have to do our duties and
you have to report. You have to call ICE. Yeah,
but we are not going out of our way to look for individuals. You understand what I mean?
Okay.
So obviously, there are primarily ICE agents or other detached agents or officers from other agencies that help ICE. So they concentrate more on that. But as far as our officers doing their day-to-day jobs and duties, they're not chasing. They're not going after individuals specifically. Okay. It's however it falls.
Yeah, because I heard some different states, they were hiring a bail bond company, this bounty hunter, which is illegal in Florida. The term bounty hunter, it's illegal to use, but just to image to our audience what they were doing. So they different state they're using a bail bond company. The people who are going to retrieve. They are like how you call them? Chasing bounty hunter or something like that. So that's crazy. But we're not doing this in Florida, obviously. But did you, by any things, because the new laws and the new condition, do you guys have in your department an ICE agent assigned to your department?
No.
On hold or on actually direct communication with one of your officer, or it's not?
No, we don't have any of that.
Okay.
Like I said, if there's a message for someone that we happen to run into, and it says that we have to contact ICE, then we will contact ICE.
You contact ICE. It
apart
happens.
from that,
did you had the experience lately?
Honestly, I haven't heard of anyone.
No. Okay.
I haven't heard of anyone. ICE has not responded to pick anyone up, as far as I know, as of yet.
Yeah. Okay. You should know because you're a captain,
Yeah.
so you're like an officer over there, so you will heard about it. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, another question: how you guys are doing with the face recognition? Are you using those programs in your department to fight the crime, to fight, when you're investigating a case, then you can collect some camera, video footage, evidence. Could you guys track those people with the faces recognition system? You have a department for that? You have a unit for this?
Yeah, primarily our detective bureau.
Detective bureau.
They're the ones who use, they do have those programs, because there are a lot of programs out there. I know Faces is one.
Faces,
main
it's one of the
program,
most popular for law
yeah.
enforcement, yeah.
But there are others as well. But yeah, our detective bureau do use those programs to help,
And it works?
identifying. Well, it depends on the quality of the photo that you have, or the quality of the still shot of the video that you're able to get of the individual. But yeah, no, it does work.
It is, huh?
Yeah,
it's good.
it does
It's
work.
good.
Yeah,
Do you guys?
it's a good tool. It's a good tool to have.
Do you guys use that to? I think it's an idea that I have always. I'm talking about that lately because it's on my mind. But do you guys have ever think to do like facial recognition on those not pornographic prostitution website platform? You see, do you have a lot of prostitute? They are like they are exposed as products. Okay, they are like for sale, and I'm sure I will say 70-60% of them are human trafficking, maybe less. I'm not an expert on percentage or numbers, but you go online on the regular normal web. I'm not talking about deep web. I'm talking about regular web, and you can have access to prostitution site. It's all over. It's like a keyword. You go on Google, you put escort, this, escort that, prostitute, like not even prostitute, escort, and then you see boom, 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 everywhere. And then you have photos there because usually they put the right girl.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm not sure, but most of the time, you never try to have a special unit to run those photos and see if they are not part of a missing teenager that was missing maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, that girls that nobody found. Because I had cases, the parents came to me, my 14 years old disappear, and they never find her. This young girl disappeared from the planet, ever. I was working the case. I'm still in contact 2 years after. They never find her. And it's not the only one. There is many. But maybe she's been held as an hostage and a slave and been working for prostitution until they kill them. They know how it works. But you guys don't do that? You don't have a...
No, we do. We have, as part of our
Interesting.
detective bureau, we have some detectives who are specifically assigned to a task force that, obviously I can't speak on the type of tools that they use to try to ID
no
these
problem.
individuals. However, there is a task force with detectives that we have in there there's a bunch of detectives from other agencies. Their sole job is to investigate those specific online crimes.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
because
that's
it's all over. And let me ask you a question. You're a police officer. How come this is legal? First of all, it's not legal. Prostitution is illegal. How come I can see it from my office? How come I can log in on Google, just write down the keywords and have it in front of me? How come? How come this is authorized? I know since last year, July, Ron DeSantis voted a new law about pornographic website. Now you have to ID yourself to make sure you're not underage watching porn, okay? Well, that's great. But what about prostitution? This is not more dangerous? This is more...
That industry is like a $1 billion industry. And it's so hard to have enough policing with it. And as you know, a lot of the online cyber crimes is out of control.
Yeah.
Because you just don't have the amount of people that you're able to, dedicate to it. And I'm glad you mentioned what the governor did starting last year.
No. Listen, it's amazing.
That definitely helps.
Of course.
Better than nothing, right? But in the overall scheme of the whole thing with the prostitution and online, the dark web and all that,
I am going to, next time we're going to be we have a TV screen in the back. Next time I will log in on Google and live on the audience and just put escort and go on site, and we can see all the prostitution site, and it's like a catalog, you can see the brunette, the girl, and they even have filters. Like you like Latin girl, Asian girl, blonde, dark, red hair. I mean, it's like a catalog.
It's crazy.
So when I have a missing teenager girls, the first thing we do, we look on those websites. We try to identify with the AI and the face recognition. The face of the missing girl. So it's insane that it's legal, not legal, but authorized. And I heard something from other people. They told me that prostitution is illegal, but it's tolerated. Because I've been told that if we didn't have prostitution in this world, it will be more crime, sex crime, violence, rapes. But maybe 40, 50 years ago, it was right, because prostitution was in the street and it was, cooling down the sex crime and cooling down the rapes, okay? But today, I don't buy it. But what do you think about that? We never thought about this. Like, say, hey, if there is no more prostitute, so all those guys are going to be strong on testosterone, and they will have to, maybe there's going to be rape, more incidents, more violence against women. Probably. Makes sense.
You would think, right?
But I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. It's a very delicate subject.
But how can you really say yay or nay or be? It's.
But it makes sense.
No, it makes sense. But how can we say either way? You really can't say.
I'm just talking like this, but a long time ago, we had a crazy emperor, Napoleon, in France. And he decided to clean up all the street of Paris of the prostitution to send them in Canada, Quebec, because Quebec was a French colony. And so he cleaned up all the street of Paris of the prostitution. And the ladies, the Valentine, we call them the Valentine. And those ladies went to Quebec, Montreal, to everything. But it was a long time ago, Napoleon time. And in less than 3 months, the street of Paris had the violence and the crime was multiplied by 60%. Because they cleaned the prostitution. They're creating more. It was like the women were raped in the street, like crazy. But that's historical. There's something maybe been manipulated with time, but just look, go to Las Vegas. It's in Nevada. Nevada. Yeah, Las Vegas, Nevada. Prostitution is legal there.
Correct.
I will be surprised to see the percentage of rape crime.
That would be.
It might be low.
That would be
It
interesting.
should be low.
You would think it should be low.
It should be low.
Yeah. You would think.
But anyway, it was a pleasure to have you here, Dukens. Very interesting episode. I hope you guys, everybody, enjoy it and learned. If you have any question, please, just send us a message, and we will be happy to reply to you. And it was nice. It was super nice. And you see, we are not talking about only private investigation work. We're talking about police work, which is sometimes very close and similar.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's nice to see how we can work between private party and public service.
Yep. Thank you for having
All
me,
right,
Victor.
thank you. It was a
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank
Excellent. So next episode, it's going to be even more spectacular than today.